Hi guys, this is a quick tutorial to run through the Pericles outline expectations one more time in case you're confused or if this is the first time you're seeing the outline. So what you're going to notice in front of you is that your thesis statement up top is based on the speech itself. And so the question we're asking is, was Pericles' praise of Athens after the defeat of Sparta in battle deserved? And so the example that I'm going to show you is one side of the argument. You can take the opposite side. It is totally fine. But like I told you in class, I am actually showing you the side that proves that it was not deserved. So if you decide, that's why there's 2 stars here. If you decide that you want to prove that the speech was deserved, just simply take out the word not and you can put the word well deserved instead. Okay, that's what the stars are there to represent. Just keep that in consideration. So basically, the entire cusp of the paper is proving this statement correct. So in the outline, you have to refer to Pericles' speech in regards to what you changed when we did the highlighted sections, the different color coded highlighted sections on government, military, and society. You're going to change you're going to choose 2 of Pericles' statements that you're either going to prove that they were correct or that they were wrong using the documents that you're provided in class. In order to narrow the essay down, though, because this is an essay, and for this essay, we're doing a traditional 5 paragraphs. In order to narrow it down, we're going to take this thesis statement and narrow it into specific categories. And the 3 categories, remember, were government, military, and society. So the example that I put for my proof statement about government was the government of Athens had many flaws, because I'm arguing that it was not deserved. If you say that it was deserved, you can say the government of Athens was unique for its time, meaning that it was different than any other because of the idea that they had democracy. But in my case, I'm going to put that it had many flaws. For your B and C statements, these should be about the Athenian military. So, the military in Athens was, and then finish the thought. Obviously, it's going to get a little repetitious if you keep saying the, so you can change that up. And then finally, it would be the Athenian society, or you could say Athenian society, and then put your statement was what? If it's good, was not as great as Pericles claimed, or was the most advanced culture of its time, depending on what sides you take. Okay. Your A and B statement here match your Roman numerals in this when you go down into the body section of your outline. So technically, what we're doing when you write your introductory paragraph, you would introduce who Pericles is, you would introduce the speech, then you would give the thesis, and then you would give these 3 proof statements. And what this is telling the reader is this is how you're going to prove this overarching thesis for the entire essay correct. Now, what you're going to notice is that the A statement here matches the Roman numeral 2, and then the B statement would be Roman numeral 3, and the C statement would be Roman numeral 4. And they're the exact same statements because these are what we call your proof statements. So if we scroll down to the body section, you're going to notice the Roman numeral says the government of Athens had many flaws. This is a broad statement about the government, and everything I do in this section will prove that the government had many flaws. So that is how you match up with your body paragraph. Then you're going to go into the body section, and part 2 will be about the government, part 3 will be about the military, and part 4 will be about society. What you're going to do is you're going to examine the white line sheet of paper where you clarified what Pericles was trying to say in your own words without talking in first person as Pericles did. And you're going to choose 2 of the statements from the government section that you want to prove either that you agree with Pericles or that you don't. So if you look right here, my A example, I took the statement where Pericles said, we are a democracy because we give the power to many and not a few. And I put this into my own words that still has the idea, but I'm not putting the direct quote. So I said the Athenian government was not as democratic as Pericles claimed, because remember, I'm trying to prove that his speech was not deserved. If you want to change this to be positive, you could say the Athenian government was as democratic as Pericles claimed. So your A and B are statements from Pericles. And when we did this in class, remember, we had 5 to 6 per category. You're only going to choose 2 of the quotes that you want to support, and that's what your essay is going to look at. Okay, so I have the Athenian government was not as democratic as Pericles claimed. My job is then to find two specific examples that would prove that statement to be correct. So I have one example below. I went and I found this evidence. It said, for example, notice I embed the quote. I start it with a transition. Don't just start with the quote, but I have the direct quote. With a population of about 300,000 Athenian democracy placed the vote and the privilege of holding office in the hands of not more than 20,000 people. Now, you're going to notice, one, I embed the quote. Two, I put the direct quote. If I needed to, this can be more than one sentence. This can be as many sentences as you need to fully develop a specific example, which is an unbiased, detailed fact. My citation in this case is going to be the document number, which is document 3. So I simply just put the number in parentheses because we're providing the documents for you. We don't need you to cite it in formal MLA. Okay. Now, I've chosen the specs. Now I got to make sense of it. So what I'm going to do, my one statement, I need to filter from what Pericles said to introducing my specific example. So I need to go from here where I'm saying it's not democratic to introduce what the heck I'm going to talk about. So my transition introductory supporting detail statement says, in Athens, only a minority of the population qualified as citizens. Think of it this way. This is an introduction to what it is I'm going to talk about. I have taken the statement and I've funneled it from Pericles' saying it's not as democratic, and I'm transitioning to introducing my first piece of evidence that proves that correct. If you're struggling, you can say Athens was not as democratic because only a minority of the population qualified as citizens, and then I've given the evidence to prove that. Okay, so you notice I took some of the words from here. If you're proving that it was democratic, you can say in Athens, the citizens had a say in such groups as the assembly, and that's narrowing it in. And then my specs would be about the assembly. Okay, then the analysis. The analysis, remember what we've learned. The analysis statement is your because why. This explains how your specs proves this A statement correct. How does this prove that this piece of evidence proves that the government was not as democratic as Pericles claimed? So I would say, I said, the percentage of individuals who had power in government was small, which did not seek the inclusion of all citizens' voices that a true democracy should seek to include. So I've given my opinion here. I'm saying that a true democracy should have all voices, and obviously with the specs, only a small percentage. If you have that you're siding with Pericles, you could say that, if you talk about the powers of the assembly, you could say something like the assembly proves that Athens was democratic because, and then tell me why. This is your opinion without using the words my opinion. All right. And then for your 2, this is the second piece of evidence for your A statement. So I want another specific example that's going to prove that either Athens is democratic or not as democratic as Pericles claimed. And you do the same exact thing. You put the evidence in, the document number that you got it from, then your transition to introduce it from the A. So take from the A, introduce what it's going to be about. And then your analysis explains how the specs that you chose proves the A statement correct. Okay. Then when you go down to B, you're going to put your second Pericles statement that you want to prove without using Pericles' exact words. You're going to rephrase them into your own words, talking in third person. So, you could talk about the fact where he said that they allow the most privileged and prestigious to serve. They don't discriminate against the poor, whatever one you want to focus on. And you write it here. Pericles stated that Athens did not treat the poor differently than any other citizen, and then find 2 pieces of evidence to prove that. Or Athens was not as equal to the poor as they claimed. You're alluding to the fact that this is Pericles' phrase, and then you're going to narrow in onto the 2 pieces of evidence that you're going to use to prove it. Okay. Then this section will be military, and you're going to choose 2 military quotes. One for A and one for B. And once again, you're finding 2 pieces of evidence to prove that statement correct. Okay. So the addition of what we've added in here, guys, the real confusion, I think, for some of you is that we're adding in the primary source piece of evidence. Then we're doing what you've been doing all along with your supporting detail, your specs, and your analysis. Okay. All right. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and all the best.